That's the secret goal, is that Santander and I have teamed up to bring you over to the League of Legends enthusiast part of the
This is
world.
actually like an undercover mission by you to one by one to draw people into this world. Hello everyone and welcome back to episode number 2 of me, Gabriel That Money Guy, taking a little bit of an exploration into League of Legends with the man himself, Drakos. Now, if you did watch the previous episode, you would know that we covered the basics of the game, and I started to get a little bit comfortable with, well, the entirety of League of Legends. Not the entirety, just a little bit of it. But one interesting topic we did start to dive into was the idea of, getting a bit of money, starting to level yourself up within the game. But Drakos, I feel like you left me on a bit of a cliffhanger, and I want to know more. I want to get good at this game. I don't want to just be okay at it. So can you help me do that?
Yes, absolutely. We're feeding you a little bit at a time, the baby steps. Don't want to overwhelm you with too many concepts at once. So in the previous episode, we talked a little bit about minions and kind of that being the most straightforward way for you to get income in the game to use to buy things. The kind of some of the bigger picture things that are not as universal as minions, which are spread out across the map, or the jungle monsters, are bigger objectives. And the first one I want to talk about is turrets. We saw them briefly in the previous episode, talking about turret plates as a quick way to, when you have an advantage, kind of further cement that with a bit more gold. But turrets overall are pretty pivotal structures on the map, and more or less, as you start to win your lane, maybe when you get a little bit of help to do so, you'll be able to knock those structures down, which will not only give you a bit of gold, they'll give your team a bit of gold as well. So helping out kind of across the map and in multiple areas. And passively, by taking them down, you're going to get a little bit more control, and you're going to get a little bit more information and kind of let yourself have a better understanding of maybe what you should be doing next.
Okay, so it kind of sounds like you're leveling up a little bit, like you're basically giving yourself the tools to get further ahead in life. And like for me, the most obvious real life comparison to that is like you think about your work, your job, the thing that's literally paying you to, well, be alive. I guess the thing sustaining your financial bad and good habits. But everyone's always striving for that next level, that next promotion. And promotions aren't always in the form of pay rises, but quite often they are. And that's a big aspect of why we work. Let's not be naive around the topic. A lot of us wouldn't do what we do on a daily basis if it wasn't for the pay that we get. And so getting that pay rise is a huge next step. And I think that it's really important to actually focus, or that people do focus a little bit more on these parts of their life. And the reason for that is quite often we look downwards with our money. And what I mean by downwards is we look towards our savings or how much we can stop spending. Whereas theoretically, you can only ever save or stop spending down to zero. There is quite literally no roof on the amount of income that you can bring in. And often we get so focused on looking down rather than looking up. And I think that's what a really kind of key idea that I'm taking from this, like leveling up. Look forward, look up in life, because that side of things is infinite.
It's interesting because I think the thing that you said that feels applicable is kind of that level up, or of getting some sort of tangible advantage. You talked about it in the form of like increasing your income that sticks around. And in the game of League of Legends, when you knock down a tower, it stays down. You kind of get to keep that advantage indefinitely. And for a lot of the bigger picture objectives in the game, like towers, that is the case, where it's something that you can pick up early on. And it kind of sticks with you. So if we look at something like Void Grubs or Rift Heralds, which are also objectives, these are big monsters that you can take as a group. Sometimes you're going to be able to take them as individuals, that make it easier for you to kind of move on and take more of these towers, generate more of these advantages, continue to get more done. And the same is true for dragons, which are on the opposite side of the map. But instead of giving you the ability to take more towers, they give you little buffs that help you out in other areas. And so it's a lot of the concepts that I think you're talking about, where it's these little things that you do over time, or these little things that you can do to kind of set yourself up for success.
I often tell people that saving towards your pension or investing, the earlier you can do it, the better. And one thing that people down the line who have invested or have saved into their pension, when they get to that later age in life where they're actually trying to withdraw that money, there is one sentence they all say, and it is, I wish I started earlier. But I can tell you something, like I said in the last episode, there is no time earlier than the present. And here is your short temporary window, which I suppose doesn't close, but the opportunity reduces and reduces.
I think that the thing that you talked about with pension is really interesting because dragons are a big focus point on the map. And one of the things that dragons do is that while individually they're going to give you small advantages here or there in some form, whether it's making you a little faster, a little stronger, if you get enough of them, it kind of gives you this much bigger overall bonus. And so a lot of times in Pro League and in games that people will play at home, the sooner you start getting them, the better, because every time you take one down, it's 5 minutes until the next one will come back up. And so if you want to get to 4, which is kind of that critical number, and in pensions, I'm sure that there's a critical number that is not as simple as 4, you really need to start picking them up early. And the sooner that you start doing it, the sooner you can get that really big, important buff. It's called a Dragon Soul online. And so I really like the pension comparison because that to me is everyone who plays League of Legends knows about Dragon Soul. Some people think that, depending on which one you get, because there are 5 or 6 of them, some people are convinced they're the best thing in the world or the worst thing in the world, but everyone would argue that, hey, if you're going to get it, the sooner you get it, the better.
I mean, I'm kind of buzzed about dragons because I'm a big Game of Thrones House of the Dragon fan. So dragons are to be incredible. And when you mentioned them, I was like, League of Legends, do they actually have dragons? Because they've got all of these other weird creatures. I'm watching the game clips now. These dragons are real. They're a bit smaller than I thought they were. Oh, no, they're not a bit smaller than I thought they would be. They're much
They fly around a lot less. I think they're a little less dynamic. They mostly live in this one little pit on the map, which is very kind of them to stay in one place.
I kind of want to throw a few more words at you, if that's okay, because I will admit, between episode 1 and episode 2, I started to kind of play around with League of Legends and look into some more vocabulary. And there's just so many words that I've got no idea what they even mean. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I just asked Drakos. I'm about to see him in a second. Baron Nashor.
Yep.
I couldn't even half. I saw that written somewhere and I was like, that sounds like the name of a god or something like that.
Yeah, it's he's a big scary purple worm, and when you're able to take down this big scary purple, this is the most important thing in the game. There's one other thing called the Elder Dragon, which is just a bigger, scarier dragon. But this guy is kind of the end all be all. Generally, if you're able to take him down, you get a bunch of money for your team. So huge, tangible gold injection, more resources. But you also get this purple buff, which allows you to move faster or get back on the map faster and gives you a bunch of additional strengths. It makes your minions, those things that kind of just have existed up until now that you haven't really had to think about too much, that much stronger. Makes you able to threaten structures and the enemy base that much more easily. This is kind of all right, the game is going to be ending soon sort of moment.
Okay, and tell me, if you take this thing down, if you take down the Baron Nashor, I don't even know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
What are the odds that you win the game?
Pretty high, but it is still, because it's a team game, it's a big coordination effort. So let's say if you take down the Baron and you use it really well, can you end the game? Yes, absolutely. There's always a little bit more context there, but generally, once you've got it, you're usually good. You're usually set. You should have all the tools that you need to end the game from there.
Okay, I like it. I'm trying to think of kind of the skill set that you would obtain from doing that one big thing in life. And for me, this is going to kind of sound kind of counterintuitive because we've gone down some kind of further, deeper financial context, but I actually want to bring it back to the start. The skill set that I'm obviously referring to is just generally financial literacy, financial management. I know that people find it boring. My job is quite literally to turn a boring topic and make it entertaining. Drakos, you've been unbelievable that you've given me so much opportunity to talk money with you. And either I'm doing a good job or you're an incredible actor and you're finding this really interesting. I think we're having a good time with it. But what I kind of want to draw on is that it's not like you can push this down the line. Once you need to know it, you need to know it. And the earlier you gain the skill of good financial literacy, good financial management, I'm talking about spending an hour a month maybe, or 10 minutes a week, 15 minutes a week, just doing something small to get yourself better and better with financial literacy. Whereas if you can get over that Baron Nashor, that financial literacy hump to get yourself onto the other side of it, you will at least open your eyes to give you the opportunity, should you then make the right decisions, to win the game of life, to win the game of money, to win the game of finance, and most importantly, to win the game of League of Legends.
Round of applause. I don't want to clap for the mic. I'm afraid to
Go on, ruin people's
it. But
eardrums. It's fine.
yeah, but the thing that I really like about it, and maybe the way that League of Legends players will understand it based on what you said, is kind of similar to financial literacy. Baron is going to happen. Someone in your game is going to take it, and it might be your team and it might be the enemy team. But once the enemy team starts to take it, you need to be there, right? And I think similarly with financial literacy, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, whether you want to focus on it or not, eventually it will matter and it will dramatically affect your life. And obviously life and League of Legends are two very different scales of pressure. But for anyone who's been in a game, maybe where they're a little bit behind the curve, like even if you're behind, it's better to be aware of it. And in the case of Baron, show up and try to stop it or maybe steal it away as you can in League of Legends, than it is to ignore it completely. Because if you ignore it completely, enemy's going to get it. Game's just going to end. You're not going to get a chance. And it sounds like it's similar for financial literacy, where even if you want to duck your hand under and it's tough to get past that barrier of entry, you got to do it eventually, whether you're excited about it or not.
Amen to that. I feel like we should start some kind of fight in the comment section as to what's more important in life, financial literacy or League of Legends. And it would be really awkward if I vote League of Legends, but the longer this goes on,
this is how we get you. This is actually, that's the secret goal, is that Santander and I have teamed up to bring you over to the League of Legends enthusiast part of the world.
This is actually like an undercover mission by you to one by one to draw people into this one. One other word I want to throw at you that from a little bit of Googling is the word inhibitor. What are they? What do they do? Are they as fun as Baron Nashor's?
They're not as fun. They're not a big, scary
space
worm. They are very, very important, but they don't have quite that same, Game of Thrones, House of Dragon allure that I've been building you up to. What they do is, as you destroy turrets, after you destroy the third turret consecutively in any lane, there's this structure that you can see now called the inhibitor. And if you break that for the next 5 minutes in that specific spot, every time a wave of minions spawns, you'll also get a super minion. And the super minion is huge, and whether or not you do anything after that point, that super minion is always going to be able to push down that lane, move up further. He's going to beat all the little guys. It's not going to be any effort for the super minion. He's always going to demand attention, and he kind of gives you for 5 minutes, which is a very long time in a game of League of Legends, this really clear, tangible advantage that demands kind of a response and really sets you up for success to do pretty much anything else you want. Because in that one lane, or more if you take more inhibitors, you can just leave it alone and it'll pretty much always be working in your favor. If anything in League of Legends frees you up to explore other things that really solidifies an advantage, it is an inhibitor. Because once you take it down, you don't need to pay attention to that lane. You can go anywhere else. Everything else you want to do is easy, because it might be a bit of an oversimplification, but more or less that lane is done. It's solved. That problem is solved and you don't need to think about it anymore.
I wish there was as easy a hack in life to just create yourself a super minion, and then you don't have to care about that for the rest of your life. I mean, unfortunately, with finance and money, these are things that even if you can kind of set it and forget it in a lot of areas, like you set up automatic payments, automatic savings, that kind of stuff, it is still something that here and there you do need to check on. So I'm not sure we can quite let anything roam as freely as we do our super minion. But to me, the super minion is actually someone that does know what's going on. They are switched on. They are aware of their finances, right? They know how to drive forward. They are doing all the right thing. And so, like, whilst it's very, very important to avoid following people blindly, if there is someone educated who is able to give you the right guidance, to give you the right, open the right doors so that you can at least make the right decisions yourself, those are people that you should listen to in life. Those are people you should surround yourself with, good financial habits, and the people that will help you strive forward in life. I always say, like, a good mentor in life is worth £1 million, because they literally help you solve problems that you didn't even know you have, because they've already gone ahead and had to face those problems for you. And to me, that's the super minion. To me, the super minion is that person that you can trust, you can rely on. Now, you might turn around and tell me it's still a minion, though. In which I'll say, you're right. Even the people that you look up to in life, you should still make your own decisions at the end of the day and use them as guidance and an example, and not as fact in life. So, like, this is what I'm saying. Even people that listen to me on social media when I talk about money and finance, I always want them to go away and make their own decisions. I think I just called myself a super minion there. Was that a little bit of a big ego
I
from me?
don't I don't in your context, I think it's flattering to compare yourself to a super minion, but I do think that in the League of Legends context that despite the incredible work ethic of the super minion and their incredible strength, I still don't know if anyone would want to be a super minion, but the point that you made, I think, does still stand and does still occur in League of Legends, where people are quick to look at someone else and kind of copy things that they are doing without really understanding the why. And sometimes it'll work for them, right? And sometimes it won't if they don't really understand what's going on behind it. And of course, when you have really good players who can stream and those players are easy to watch, it's not quite the same as finding financial advice, but you can see what they're doing and go, oh, I'm going to copy that without understanding, hey, why does it work? Why is it good? And it can get people in a lot of trouble. The good news in the world of League of Legends, though, is that most of that trouble ends in a short game of League of Legends with a lackluster result rather than any financial despair or risk.
All right, that brings us to the end of episode 2, which was pretty crazy. I have to say, I feel like I've gone from a newbie to almost an experienced League of Legends player without even having ever played the game. I mean, we spoke about inhibitors, we spoke about turrets, we spoke about Baron Nashor's, a purple space web, we spoke about, I think it's called a rift something. There might be the word herald. I think it's part of the same word. Whatever we did, we covered so much within that game. And not just that, from the financial aspect, we brought in bonuses, we brought in lifestyle inflation. And I think overall, we made links between League of Legends and personal finance that no one in a million years could have seen coming, but it worked. Drakos, what did you think?
Look, I agree completely that it worked, and I'm just impressed about how many of those things that you remembered, given how much information I have just been throwing at you this entire time. So I'd say well done, successful episode.
But we almost forgot the most important part of the episode we just went through. Super minions.
True.
Wow. The gift that keeps on giving. Guys, if you aren't a Super Minion fan now, you never will be. Episode 3, let's bring it around. Super Minions, you are in my heart forever.